This is a stunning choice. I imagine there's a lot of cheering at Mar-a-Lago at the moment. Look, Tim Walz, he's no one to scoff at. He unseated a 6-term Republican in Congress. He won a conservative district. He began as a moderate. And then he had a radical transformation as soon as he got a trifecta in Minnesota. I think it is fair to call him a progressive in sheep's clothing. When you look at his record over the last few years, what you see are transgender surgeries for minors, carbon electrical grid by 2040, driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. In function, his abortion policy allows abortion until birth. These are policies that are far to the left of America. And as John McCormick at the Wall Street Journal pointed out, Kamala Harris has to do the exact opposite of what Tim Walz did. Tim Walz became more progressive. Kamala Harris is trying to become more moderate. But Republicans are going to say, you've shed all your progressive policies, but yet you chose a progressive instead of the guy who outperformed Donald Trump and Joe Biden in Pennsylvania, and that man's name is Josh Shapiro.
And that could potentially bring support from Jewish voters, something the Harris campaign needs sorely, no matter who's on the ticket with her. What do you think tipped the scales for the campaign? It is, as you mentioned, a bit of a shock choice. Do you think it was an ideology bent here, or do you think it was based on raw polling?
So the word coming out of the Kamala Harris camp to reporters was chemistry. She wanted someone with whom she had chemistry. I would love to know what Obama said to her on the phone, because this time last cycle, 4 years ago, Joe Biden was having apprehensions about choosing Kamala Harris. He called Obama. He expressed these reservations to Obama per CNN, and Obama said back to him, none of that is as important as winning. So I wonder what Obama said, because if this is a chemistry choice, that's fantastic if you have chemistry. But if you don't make it to Pennsylvania Avenue in 2 months, the chemistry doesn't matter. So I've got to believe this was an innate decision of how she was feeling. But feelings should go out the window when you're looking at the path to 270.
So Tim Walz is 60 years old. He came to politics late in life, really at the age of 42. He was a high school teacher. He was a high school football coach. He was with Dana and me on this program 2 weeks ago. He's affable. He's likable. He carries a smile with just about everywhere he goes. And I think maybe the personality characteristics here is probably what sold him with Kamala Harris. Ultimately, the question is this. You're going to spend, if you win, you spend a lot of time with this person. Mm-hmm. Who do you feel comfortable with? Who do you want to be around? And I think a lot of times the person on the top of the ticket has failed that test.
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, I just talked to a former Republican congressman who said he's a nice guy. I really liked Tim Walz in Congress. He does have that folksy demeanor. I think maybe there's a belief in the Kamala Harris campaign that he could help with Western Wisconsin, which shares a media market with Minnesota, that he could help in a place like Michigan. So he's not to be dismissed, but it's just leaving a huge, wide, gaping opening for J.D. Vance and Donald Trump to expose with a progressive record when you're trying to sell yourself to independents, which, by the way, Donald Trump is still winning among independents. Joe Biden won independents by 9. Kamala has to play catch-up. I don't know how Tim Walz does.
So he had support from Bernie Sanders. He had support from Elizabeth Warren. You must believe that Republicans are going to try and exploit that political relationship there. Back to the point about Pennsylvania. If you're a Democrat in the Electoral College, you cannot win the White House unless you win Pennsylvania and its 19 electoral votes. As for Minnesota, Republicans have not won there since 1972. That's Richard Nixon.
That's 50 years.
It's a blue state.
Yeah.
You chose a blue state governor. To your point, so let's say Tim Walz helps to take her over the line in Wisconsin and Michigan. Let's just say he does that. And let's say she picks up Nevada and Arizona along the way. You still don't win without Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro outperformed Trump by 3 points in 2016 in Pennsylvania, outperformed Biden by 3 points, then went on to win the gubernatorial race in Pennsylvania by 15 points. If you make a map choice, and I analogize Shapiro to the Glenn Youngkin choice. Glenn Youngkin, an enormously popular governor in Virginia. Maybe he could have helped to take Virginia out of the blue column. She chose not to choose the map choice. The Trump campaign chose not to choose the map choice. In their calculus, I guess VP doesn't matter. And those other traits, the chemistry, the governing, does matter.
Kaylee, stand by, okay? There's